Hello, this is a video about statistics. It gives you a little bit background about what you are doing when you are making visualizations and calculations in data journalism. We first start with what is called levels of measurement. Here in this slide you see the different levels of measurement. And levels of measurement answer the question, how are you going to measure a certain variable? You know, if you have age, that you do that in years. If you have income, you can do that in dollars. If you have temperatures, you do that in centigrade. But if you ask someone, what's the temperature? Well, you could look at it at a thermometer, but you can also say, well, I think it's cold. I think it's cold, warm, very cold, very warm. You know, these are all differences to express how cold, how warm, or what is the temperature in a certain environment. Now, these are all levels of measurement, but they differ. Sometimes there is order between the different positions, and you know the distance between these different positions. Sometimes there is a real point of zero. So sometimes there is no order at all. Well, here we have the four levels. Nominal data is just categories. There is no order between the categories. For example, your political preference, whether socialist, liberalism, Christianity, conservatism, populism, whatever you want, these are all nominal data, because there is no order from high to low, low to high, or whatever, and you don't know the distance, the different positions between socialism and liberalism. No idea. Same with religion. If you are Catholic, Protestant, Islam, Jew, it's just simple categories, no order. When you ask about cold and warm, it could be expressed like very cold, cold, agreeable, warm, very warm. There is a certain order from high to low, so there is a scale involved here. But we don't know the distance between the positions on the scale. And the scale doesn't have a 0 point. That is ordinal data. The other level is interval data. For example, temperatures. That is, that could be from 0 to 1, but it could also be minus 10 if you use the Celsius scale. So, but what the important point is, there is no 0 point on the Celsius scale, but we know the distances between the different positions. Saying 10 and 20 degrees, we know that the difference between that is 10 degrees. And ratio data, a ratio scale, has an actual point of zero, a 0 point. Your height, your age, your income, for example, these are all measurements on a ratio level. Well, if you have these levels of measurement, these levels of measurement determine also what kind of calculations you can do. For example, only on a ratio and on an interval level, because we know the distances between the certain positions on the scale, we can do real calculations. On nominal level, no calculations are possible. Even on the ordinary level, real calculations are not possible. So now I go one step further. If you look at the level of measurement on nominal level, you cannot calculate, for example, an average, a mean. You cannot calculate a median. I will come back to all these questions later. But calculating an average, whatever average it is, cannot be calculated on a nominal level. You can only count frequencies, how many persons are in a certain category, and you can determine which is the highest category. You know, for example, what is the income that most people earn. That's a mode, that is the modal category. You can do that on a nominal level. But look here, on the rational level, you can do much more calculations. For example, you can here calculate the average, you can calculate here the variance and standard deviation, and here the median and minimum and maximal range. And also you can, of course, count the frequencies. So what you can do on this level is dependent on your level of measurement. It determines also what kind of graphics you can produce. For example, on a nominal level, bar graphs is okay, but you cannot do a line graph, for example, or just a scatter diagram. These are not possible on these levels. You have to go to at least an interval level or a ratio level to do things like a scatter diagram. Also, when you want to talk about the relationship between two variables, calculating the strength of a relationship, whether, let's say, the price of your house is influenced by your income, which is probably obvious, but the higher your income, the higher the price of your house. You can test that by calculating a correlation, or to make it more difficult, to calculate a regression. But when you are talking about your political preference and your income, for example, then you are talking about a relationship between a nominal variable and a ratio level. So you cannot do a calculation, you have to do something else. In this case, you can do a t-test, but you can also calculate the percentage differences. I'll show you that later.